This is a legal reckoning for Harvey Weinstein. The three witnesses whom I represent have been role models in courage. Without them and their willingness to testify under oath in this case, and without their willingness to be subjected to an intense and brutal cross-examination, this result would never have been won. Mimi Haley is one of the two victims in this criminal case, and she is my client. Mimi sacrificed her right to privacy in the interests of justice. Annabella Shore was a very brave witness on this issue of sexually predatory conduct. Lauren Marie Young was a Molyneux witness, prior bad act witness. She's also one of the two victims in the Los Angeles County criminal case against Harvey Weinstein, which will be prosecuted in Los Angeles very soon. All of my three clients should be considered heroes of the women's movement and the victims' rights movement. These witnesses told their truth under oath, despite what many people felt were unfair attacks on their credibility by Harvey Weinstein's defense lawyers, who attempted to do anything and everything legally possible to challenge the motives of the witnesses and blame them for what the witnesses testified that the defendant Harvey Weinstein did to them. Fortunately, the defense attempts to discredit them were not successful. My clients bravely stood in their truth and refused to be intimidated, bullied, or shamed into substantially changing their testimony about what the defendant did to them. I'm very proud of them. I'm very happy that the jury delivered the verdict that was read in court today as to Mimi and as to Jessica, whom I do not represent. The jury took their time. They asked very thoughtful questions in advance of the verdict, and we thank them for their service on this historic case and for their carefully considered verdict, which I believe is a just result as to Mimi and to Jessica. Harvey Weinstein will now have to finally face the serious consequences of his criminal behavior at his sentencing here in New York on March 11th. The most serious charge is the one that he was convicted on for my client Mimi. For that, he can face 10 to 25 years. And the victim does have an opportunity to speak at the sentencing and give her victim impact statement. And in the event that Mimi is available on March 11th, she and I will be here in order to do that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.